Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive all about contraceptives.
Should be a good one.
It is. We've had tons of requests to really break down the differences between hormonal and non-hormonal options. And honestly, it's a great topic because there's so much to consider.
For sure, there's effectiveness, side effects, how they fit into your lifestyle, and then all those individual health things.
Exactly. We're going to cover it all. So if you're ready, let's jump right in.
Sounds good to me.
First up, let's tackle hormonal contraceptives.
Yeah.
I know you're probably already familiar with the basics, but I think it's worth taking a closer look at how they actually work on a deeper level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people know that hormonal contraceptives prevent pregnancy,
Right.
but it's the how that gets really interesting.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about blocking sperm here. Hormonal methods, like the pill or the ring,
Yeah.
they use synthetic hormones like estrogen and progestin
Okay.
to essentially mimic a pregnancy state in your body.
So it's like hitting the pause button on ovulation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's more. They also thicken the cervical mucus, making it harder for sperm to swim through. And they thin the uterine lining, making implantation less likely. It's like a multi-layered defense system.
I like that multi-layered defense system. That's a good way to put it. Okay, so we've got all these different types of hormonal contraceptives out there.
Right.
Can you break down some of the most common ones for us?
Of course, we've got the pill, which is that daily dose of hormones. Then there are patches that you wear on your skin
Right?
that release hormones over a week. And don't forget about the ring, a small, flexible ring inserted vaginally that releases hormones for 3 weeks.
So many options. It's like choosing your delivery method.
Exactly. Daily, weekly, or monthly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What about those longer term options that I keep hearing about?
Those would be your injections and implants.
Okay.
Injections typically last for a few months, while implants can provide protection for several years.
Oh, wow.
And of course, we have hormonal IUDs, like the Mirena, which are highly effective for up to 5 years.
The Mirena, I've actually heard that that can be really beneficial for certain conditions. Is that right?
Absolutely. The Mirena, with its localized release of progestin, can be a game changer for those with endometriosis. It directly targets the uterine lining, reducing painful tissue growth and heavy bleeding, often more effectively than the pill.
Wow. So with all these hormonal options, what kind of effectiveness are we talking about?
With perfect use, hormonal methods can be over 99% effective. That means fewer than 1 out of 100 people using them correctly will get pregnant in a year.
That's incredibly effective. But I imagine it can be tough to maintain that perfect use in real life.
You're absolutely right. Real life happens.
Yeah.
Forgetting a pill or not changing a patch on time can lower the effectiveness.
Yeah.
And that's why it's crucial to consider your lifestyle and habits when choosing a method.
Right.
If you struggle with remembering daily tasks, a longer-term option like an IUD or implant might be worth exploring.
That makes sense. So beyond preventing pregnancy, there's a lot of talk about the potential benefits of hormonal contraceptives too. What's the real story there?
It's true. Some people experience fantastic non-contraceptive benefits. Hormonal methods can regulate periods,
Oh.
making them lighter, shorter, and less painful. This can be particularly helpful for individuals with conditions like PCOS,
Right.
which often involves irregular and heavy periods.
And not to clarify for our listeners, PCOS is polycystic ovary syndrome, a
Yes,
hormonal disorder that can affect ovulation and menstruation.
exactly.
So for someone dealing with the challenging symptoms of PCOS, hormonal contraceptives can offer some much-needed relief.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And beyond period regulation, they can also help with hormonal acne.
Really?
Combined pills with their balanced estrogen and progestin can often reduce breakouts by regulating oil production.
That's amazing. So many potential benefits. But of course, we have to talk about the side effects too.
You're right. It's essential to be aware of the potential downsides. Some common side effects include mood swings,
Oh.
breast
Okay.
tenderness, nausea, and headaches.
Now, I know a lot of listeners are specifically concerned about the potential link between hormonal birth control and blood clots.
It's an important concern. A 2016 study in the New England Journal of Medicine did find a slightly increased risk of blood clots in women using hormonal contraception. This risk is still relatively low,
Okay.
but it's crucial for individuals with a family history of clotting disorders,
Right.
smokers, or those with other risk factors to discuss this with their doctor.
So while those potential side effects sound concerning, I imagine the types and severity can vary depending on the specific type of hormonal contraceptive.
You're exactly right. Different formulations and delivery methods can have varying impacts. For instance, some people find they experience fewer side effects with a lower dose pill, or a progestin-only method like the mini pill.
So it's really about finding the right hormonal cocktail that works for you. It seems like a lot to consider.
Absolutely, which is why it's so important to talk to your healthcare provider.
Right.
They can help assess your individual risk factors and guide you toward options that might be a good fit.
That's great advice. Okay, that covers the hormonal side of things. Now let's switch gears and explore the world of non-hormonal contraceptives.
Sounds good to me. This is where we get into the physical and chemical barrier methods for preventing pregnancy.
Interesting. Okay, let's dive in.
Let's do it.
So we're talking about options that don't mess with your hormones at all, right?
Exactly. No hormones involved.
What are some of the most popular methods in this category?
Well, condoms are probably the most well-known, I'd say.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They act as a physical barrier, preventing sperm from reaching the egg.
Right, and condoms have that added bonus of protecting against STIs, which is something hormonal methods don't do.
Exactly. That dual protection is a huge advantage.
Huge.
Then we have diaphragms,
Okay.
which are inserted into the vagina to cover the cervix.
Yeah,
Again, acting as a physical barrier.
gotcha. And what about the copper IUD? That's non-hormonal, right?
Yes, the copper IUD is a great example of non-hormonal long-term option.
Okay.
It sits inside the uterus and releases copper ions,
Oh, wow.
which are toxic to sperm.
So it's like a little spermicide factory right there in your uterus.
Pretty much.
I love it. It's fascinating how these non-hormonal methods work in such different ways to achieve the same goal.
It is.
But how do their effectiveness rates compare to hormonal methods?
Well, with perfect use, the copper IUD is actually just as effective as hormonal methods, boasting over 99% effectiveness.
Wow.
Condoms, while convenient, have a slightly lower effectiveness rate, around 85% with typical use.
That makes sense. Consistent use is always key.
Absolutely.
Are there any other non-hormonal options people might consider?
We can't forget about natural family planning, also known as fertility awareness.
Oh, right. Fertility awareness.
It involves tracking your menstrual cycle
Right.
and identifying your fertile window
Okay.
to avoid intercourse during those times.
So it's all about understanding your body's natural rhythms.
Yes, exactly.
But I imagine that requires a lot of diligence and careful tracking.
You're absolutely right. Fertility awareness requires commitment and a deep understanding of your cycle. It's also less effective for people with irregular cycles.
Right. Okay. So we've got a good overview now of both hormonal and non-hormonal options.
We do.
But with so many choices, how do you even begin to narrow it down?
That's where those key factors we mentioned earlier come into play.
Right.
Effectiveness, side effects, lifestyle, and health considerations.
Okay.
It's all about finding the method that aligns best with your individual needs and preferences.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
Not at all. It's about personalized healthcare. What works for one person might not work for another. Let's say someone is absolutely opposed to hormonal methods.
Okay. So they're looking for a non-hormonal approach. What are their best options?
Well, if you're looking for long-term, highly effective protection and don't mind the possibility of heavier periods, the copper IUD could be a great fit.
And what if they prefer something on demand that they can control in the moment?
Then condoms or a diaphragm might be more suitable. It really depends on their lifestyle and priorities.
This is where those open and honest conversations with a healthcare provider are so crucial, right?
Absolutely. They can help you weigh the pros and cons of each method, taking into account your medical history,
Right.
any medications you're taking,
Yeah.
your lifestyle, and your personal preferences.
It's like having a personalized contraceptive guide.
Exactly.
They can address any concerns you might have, answer all your questions, and help you make a truly informed decision.
Exactly. And it's not just a one-time conversation.
Right.
As your life changes,
Right.
so might your needs.
Oh, for sure.
It's good to check in with your healthcare provider periodically, make sure you're still happy with your chosen method, and see if any new options might be a better fit.
So it's an ongoing dialogue, like checking in with a trusted friend.
I like that analogy.
This has been so insightful. It's
Yeah.
amazing how many factors go into choosing the right contraceptive.
It is.
And I think one of the most important takeaways is that there's no right or wrong answer.
Absolutely not.
It's all about finding what works best for you.
100%.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from the science behind how these methods work
Right.
to the personal considerations that go into choosing the right one. But before we wrap up,
Okay.
I wanted to leave you with a final thought.
I'm all ears.
We've talked a lot about the practicalities of contraception,
Yes.
effectiveness, side effects, convenience,
Right.
but there's another layer to this conversation that I think is so important.
I'm intrigued. What are you thinking about?
Well, we've talked about effectiveness rates, side effects, all those practical considerations.
The nuts and bolts of contraception.
Exactly. But beyond those nuts and bolts,
Yeah.
there's a bigger picture here that I think is worth exploring.
Okay, I'm listening. What's this bigger picture?
It's about the impact contraception has on our lives. On a societal level, even.
Now we're getting into the really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Think about it. Widespread access to reliable contraception has revolutionized the way we live, work, and form relationships.
It's true. It's given women, in particular, greater control over their bodies and their futures.
Exactly. It's allowed them to pursue education careers, personal goals, without the constant worry of unplanned pregnancies.
And it's not just about individual empowerment.
Right.
Access to contraception has had ripple effects throughout society.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's contributed to lower rates of unintended pregnancies.
Right.
Which in turn can lead to improved maternal and child health outcomes.
And it's also had a huge impact on economic development,
Right.
allowing women to participate more fully in the workforce.
It's fascinating how something as seemingly personal as contraception can have such profound societal implications.
It really highlights the interconnectedness of our choices and the ripple effects they create.
So, as you continue on this journey of finding the right contraceptive for you, remember that you're not just making a decision about your own health and well-being.
You're also tapping into a legacy of empowerment and social change.
And that's pretty incredible.
It is. It's something to be celebrated and to advocate for continued access and education around the world.
Well said. We've come to the end of our contraceptive deep dive.
It's been a good one.
I hope you found this exploration insightful and feel empowered to take control of your reproductive health.
Remember, knowledge is power. The more you know, the more confident you'll feel in making decisions that are right for you.
And don't hesitate to reach out to your healthcare provider with any questions. They're your trusted partner in this journey.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay empowered.